Welcome, everyone. It's your girl, Karina. Welcome back to the channel. I'm so excited to be here. Yes, I know I look crazy, but this is a perfect look for talking about crazy old Aquarius and the new Jupiter and Saturn conjunction that is going to be happening this month at the end of December. Okay, so Jupiter and Saturn will be going into an incredible alignment, right? And this is a very important transit because its position in Aquarius has not been seen in a very long time. So I want to make sure that we talk about how Jupiter and Saturn being conjunct will impact your natal chart. And if you're interested in that, then this video is going to be for you. This live is going to be for you. Okay, we're going to look at Jupiter and Saturn through the houses, right? And how are we going to look at this energy? We're going to actually look at some celebrities who harbor this. We're going to talk about the definition of these planets. And then we are going to look at your chart. Why? Because somewhere in your chart, you have Jupiter and Saturn going conjunct. And you can look at where that transit is happening next to your birth chart. This is going to be a very important upgrade to humanity. This kind of energy that we have not seen since the Middle Ages. Some are calling this the Christmas star because of how close they will be, in which they omit a light that looks like one star. And I do think that even that title called the Christmas star has a lot to do with the symbology of this, because this is about unity and discovering how humanity is going to come together through such trying times. Now, I know that you might be thinking, well, 2020 has been a crazy year. What is this Jupiter and Saturn conjunction about? How has it been influential over 2020's energies? How is it going to be influential over 2021's energies? We'll also talk a little bit about that as well. Okay. So if you guys are here for the replay, definitely check the timestamps below. I'll help you out with knowing what topics you are mainly here to know for. And then you can also click for your house placement. Okay. And also, if you would like to know more information or get more insights into more of my deeper astrology or conspiracy theories or things like that, I also have a Patreon, in which that's where I post more exclusive content when I'm not posting on YouTube. Okay, so y'all, let me go ahead and share this live over to Facebook so that we can get our Facebook buddies on as well. Our homies, rolling with the homies. I know you guys have not seen me do lives as often as I was doing it last month. There has been some changes, but I'm really excited to be here with you guys today, um, because we are entering into a huge shift and portal. Some people have already felt the shift as well, because this Jupiter and Saturn conjunction is connected to what I like to call the Messiah seed connection. There is very minimal information about there, but I actually learned about the Messiah seeds from an astrologer called 13 Signs Astrology. His name is Ra Imhotep. I don't know if he still posts online, but I learned about the Messiah seeds almost almost 10 years ago, and have a video on this channel about them. And lo and behold, a Messiah seed energy is coming through with the Jupiter and Saturn conjunction. So I'll tell you guys what that is as well, so that you can understand how this energy is also working through your chart as well, understanding the Messiah seed energy. Hi, Ty. How are you? Hope you're doing well. Hope you're recovering well. Welcome. Okay. So let's get into it, shall we? I'm pulling up my ephemeris so that we can talk a little bit about dates. Okay, and if you guys if you're here and you want to know more about your chart, but not really sure how to read it, I have a very easy course, and it's on Udemy. And you'll see the link down below as well if you'd like to check out the Udemy course and learn how to read your birth chart very simply through the course. Okay, now this conjunction, Jupiter and Saturn, go into a tight conjunction on the 21st of December. Booyah! Okay, Um, Now, what is this mean? What is this about? Okay, so they go in conjunction, and we need to understand, well, where do we even start? Let's look at Jupiter and Saturn and what they mean in astrology. Let's start there, okay? So, Jupiter is a planet of expansion, it's a planet of making things bigger, okay? And quite often in astrology, we even look to Jupiter to find where you might have some good luck, where you might have some fortune, some blessings, or at least some protection, okay? So, where Jupiter is, it makes things bigger. Now, what's really interesting about that is that where Saturn energy is usually where you have more lessons, which means that things are going to be controlled. Things aren't necessarily smaller with Saturn, but they're more under pressure. So while Jupiter brings all these great blessings and gifts, you know what I'm saying? Saturn is the one that's like, wait, you can't have your gifts, you can't have your reward unless you do this hard work, unless you commit to your karma, unless you handle your responsibilities. So they're two very different energies, but when they come together, what does that look like? What is that meaning behind it? Right? Well, in a lot of ways, they actually create a neutral plane, but then at the same time, they create a gateway to impact people, other people, and yourself in a way that you've never seen before. Okay. Because if you abide by the law and the responsibilities of Saturn, you can gain the blessings of Jupiter and the rewards of Saturn at the same time. Okay. So Jupiter is teaching energy, it's guru energy, it's spirituality, it's looking at things from a big point of view. Okay. When you have that optimistic, big point of view, you're in all of this light. It's so light in Jupiter, and it's all about finding your light and finding the light of others, and really being like the type of person that um brings the and Jupiter also is connected to spreading the knowledge, right? So Jupiter, this is where we find like our gurus, we find our preachers, you find teachers, college professors, because they spread the knowledge, they bring the light, and the light is the knowledge, okay? Now, what is Saturn? Well, Saturn is actually where we work really, really hard. And what does Saturn want? Saturn wants rewards. Saturn wants to be the best. It wants success. It wants to, achieve its highest potential. Okay. Saturn is here to work and to gain material reward, material accolades. Okay. Where Saturn is in your chart is where we understand our authority. Usually, Saturn is a boss of some sort, whether it is your parents who can be considered a boss, or your actual boss from work, or if you're a boss yourself. Well, Saturn is showing where somebody's managing or controlling over you, setting the rules, setting the boundaries, and setting the limitations upon you, in which for you to work your hardest to get the job done. Okay. So is Saturn energy is about achieving some sort of height. So Jupiter and Saturn both work very well when we're looking at the desires for money, when we're looking at the desires for high success. Okay? They work very well together here because they both want expansion, Jupiter, and achievement, Saturn. This is where they work very well. Where they won't work well is if you're not willing to expand or achieve. So if you're happy with where you are and want to know the basic minimal things, right? Like you don't want to improve education, or you don't want to just open your mind to more things, right? Then your Jupiter energy is not going to be utilized. And if you don't want to work hard for your success, if you don't want to have success, period, right? If you're more like, oh, it is what it is. Like if you're not like really hungry for success, then that also is where this energy is going to not be in your favor. So that's one of the things to worry about. If you want to know how is Jupiter and Saturn going to impact me, the first thing before we even look at your chart is where are you when it comes to your desires for your life? Do you have a vision? Do you have a plan? Do you have the education or the apprenticeship or the guru or the advisor or the mentor that is going to get you there? Because if you are lined up with those things, then you will utilize this conjunction of Jupiter and Saturn very well. But if you are a little bit behind on those things, and this might be more difficult for you, Jupiter will push you to expand your knowledge and challenge you as to what you know or how little you know. And Saturn will call you lazy and tell you that you're not doing the job that you're doing and give you a lot of karmic challenges if you're not willing to have a vision of success and work towards it. So just looking at that, we can already get gauge, individually, how well are we going to do with this transit? Now, when we say conjunction in astrology, what that means is that these two planets are going to be hitting each other at the same degree. Are they physically next to each other in the skies? No, they're not. They're actually very far apart. I don't even have the correct metrics, but we're talking, long distance apart. However, the conjunction is based off of this idea of being at the same degree. And we can measure that through distance, and we can also measure it um, through this lateral point of view. So this conjunction is very, very strong because of its exact alignment within the degrees. Now, conjunctions in astrology, when planets are together at the same degree, that's considered a conjunction, okay? Or within the same degrees, right? A conjunction in astrology is like when two people come together. So it can be a really beneficial thing if these two energies are in harmony with one another. But if they are not in harmony with one another, then what you will get is a lot of fight, backlash. You might get a breakup, you might get a divorce. You might get some friction because if two planets come together and they don't like each other, we can have more difficulty. But what's great about Jupiter and Saturn is that these are these are planets that like cancel each other out. They both can give you this energy of grayness, neutrality, okay, in which maybe the fall won't be so bad because Jupiter will protect you, you know. But maybe your expansion, like if you're overindulgent, won't be so bad because Saturn will control you. Make sure that, well, if you're spending too much money, I'm just going to take all your income resources away so you learn how to live without money so that you when you get your money you'll understand how to operate with it, right? So they're both going to hold you in this space, the suspension. Okay, they're both going to hold you in this suspension. Now if you're abiding by the symbology of these energies, then you will expand. If you're not abiding by it, then you will just be held within suspension until you want to abide by it. I want to talk to you guys about some of the stars that did not go neutral. Some of the celebrities that we know that are born with this energy and they used it to their highest potential. Okay, you're gonna find that they are some of the most well known and knowledgeable, even if it doesn't appear that way, and work hard, even if it doesn't appear that way, and have strong connections to publishing. Okay. Why? Because Jupiter actually represents publishing in a lot of ways, and Saturn is completing. So we're looking at people who are published, meaning that you see them on media platforms, that they create things and they put it out into the world. Okay. Also consider that the Jupiter and Saturn conjunction happens every 20 or so years. So there are celebrities right now that we know very well that have this in their chart, and they're going to be about 20 years apart. Now, one of the top celebrities born in 1961, President Barack. Obama. Okay. Princess Diana, George Clooney. All right. These celebrities were born with Jupiter and Saturn conjunct in their chart. Okay. So this is what it looks like when Jupiter and Saturn are conjunct in your chart and you're utilizing this energy to this highest potential, the heights that you can reach, right? People are using you for your wisdom, they're using you for your achievement, they're looking up towards you for your achievement, mind you, right? And there's something about you, there's an essence about you that is memorable, okay? Um, so that's in the early 1960s. Early 1980s, we have Kim Kardashian, okay? We have Beyonce Knowles, okay? So these are very well known celebrities who utilized their natal positions of Saturn and Jupiter being fairly close and were able to bring it up into its highest potential. These people are what we would call, or what I call, Messiah seeds. Now, some people might disagree with me on that. The fact that the term Messiah seeds is a real term. It's a real term. And in your chart, where you find Jupiter and Saturn conjunct in the first degrees of Aquarius, that is where you have the ability to ignite your own Messiah seed energy. Okay. So the Messiah seed idea is that these are people, entities, beings that are given or come here at specific times during specific, alignments with the planets and with the stars, and they are able to harbor a ton of information. They're able to exude out a lot of information and energy as well. Okay. And this is combined with knowledge, right? So I said a ton of information. So they're using their knowledge and expanding it, but they're also making that knowledge become something achievable. So it's not a mediocre, you know, lifestyle. As much as I don't want to like say that, if you don't like use education to build yourself up, that you live a mediocre lifestyle. But according to Saturn, the potential that you can go is limitless, right? You can reach many heights. So you're taking knowledge in your information and you're reaching highest success points. Okay. And so this is where also this becomes debatable, because some people might say, well, why should education be something that you use as a business or whatever? So some people are not going to even be able to combine these energies as well. But you can see that in certain celebrity charts, when they're able to do so, that they are, number one, extremely memorable, number two, extremely memorable and leave a legacy. Number two, they have a great impact as far as the changing of the age, or of the times that we are in. That's a big thing about Messiah seeds, because they only come when it is a very specific time or a very specific shift. There's an astrologer out there that I was watching, and she talks about the Great Conjunction, and she says how we're entering into age of air, because the conjunction is happening in air signs for the next like 200 years, and only in 2100 do we start to see them shift into water signs. So that might be right in the 2100s when more Messiah seeds come through, because that alignment will be brand new and fresh, and they can harbor the information and spread the information that's needed for that time. So if that makes sense, certain planetary alignments, certain beings come back to earth to do that work, that messianic work. It is slightly tied to the symbol of Jesus and Yeshua, but they aren't actually Jesus and Yeshua. They are tied to the symbology of it, which is, when you think of seeds, seeds are like children. So they're like the children of that light being of Jesus or Yeshua, however it is that you understand those entities to be. So These are connected to the concepts of Krishna, Christ consciousness, Messiah seeds are connected to that. And they come in forms of groups, especially when we're looking at our current situation, which is Jupiter and Saturn conjunct in Aquarius. And that's really what I want to talk to you guys about is this idea of Messiah seeds being um, bigger than ever, and the showering of the Messiah seeds being more than ever before, because certain individuals come into life and they have a certain purpose as an individual. But what if, the great creator or the divine architect or whatever it is that you know God to be, or the consciousness of the cosmos to be, was like, well, instead of sending one, instead of sending two, instead of sending a handful, what if I sent a whole generation? What if I sent a big amount of seeds, showered my seeds into the earth so that we could help shift and transition as much of the earth and as much of the human race as possible? This is what I, as an astrologer, think is occurring when we look at the messianic energy, the Messiah seed energy of Jupiter and Saturn conjunct in Aquarius, which leads me to your chart. Jupiter and Saturn conjunct in Aquarius is about your role, if you choose to activate it, being a part of this Messiah seed energy. Okay. And what this means is that you have the opportunity, the invitation to help awaken the world. Okay. So the upgrade or the spiritual upgrade, in my opinion, is being ignited by this conjunction, because this conjunction is one of the pivotal evidence of messianic energy, right? Messianic energy, which has a lot to do with chaos energy and bringing the light. So it's like messing everything up, right? Also healing everybody, helping everyone, right? So, where Jupiter and Saturn is in your chart is where you can ignite your messianic energy, which means that you may be a more chaos being. You might harbor a lot of information, or you're taking on the job or the duty, the karmic reward of research, of discovery, of sharing this energy, of being a knowledgeable person, and then creating something out of that to help groups of people, to help future generations. Okay. The Jupiter and Saturn conjunction allows for more than ever before a massive amount of people to be awakened at the same time. And these are in parallel and in correspondence with all of the other things that are happening. Some of them, which was mentioned before by uh, some people, are the solar flares, right? Which have been very active for a while now. We've been watching for since 2012, the solar flares, but right now they're becoming more active again. You have the northern lights being activated, so people in the northern part of America are able to see that in December. Uh, there is a lot of activity, solar activity. So there's an upgrade that is occurring as well, an upgrade that happens internally, scientifically, to your blood, to your DNA, to your consciousness. Okay. And certain people are going, have already gotten it, right? But it just gets even stronger, which means that you may get an even bigger dose around the time of December 21st, when this conjunction is supposed to happening. I think that a lot of people are looking for some crazy big event to happen. I'm not really focused on that for you in this video. I want to focus on your individual life, your individual roles. And so individually, you're going to have this upgrade, right? And this upgrade alone is an event. It will be an event for you. It will be a moment of awakening, a moment of even more awakening. Because when you're awake, you can still awaken even more. That's the idea of Jupiter, in fact, that you can always expand, right? And Jupiter being in Aquarius, a mental sign, is about a mental expansion. Okay. Aquarius is where we are a mad genius. It is where we are scientific. It's where we are crazy and electrified, right? And the concept of electricity is a big thing with Jupiter and Saturn coming into Aquarius together. This Messiah seed energy. When you think about, if anyone watches, superhero movies, think about Thor and how he uses his hammer, right? And he can ignite, like when he is using his superpowers, Thor. I'm not sidetracking, I promise you this has a connection. um he can ignite electricity into everyone, or either in all of his enemies, right? But I also could see it as within, eh, for you, within anyone around you that is not your enemy, but the people that you care about, the people that you want to see rise up, that you can electrify those people with your Messiah seed energy. So that's the idea, is that where Jupiter and Saturn are conjunct in your chart, you can electrify people with Messiah seed energy. So the question is, how do I do it? Well, you're going to do it learning knowledge and awakening yourself, which means that you have to heal yourself, which means that you have to be awakened to your own inner villains and demons. Because a healer, heel of the foot, right? Which is what Aquarius is, the heel of the foot, the ankle of the foot. That's where you are shackled by mental slavery. Okay. So Jupiter and Saturn are going to free you and unlock you in this conjunction in Aquarius from mental slavery. Okay. Through that process, you can electrify everyone else around you by your own individual awakening. So it's almost not really about you doing anything to anyone else, but you being awakened will awaken others. Okay. Now, I feel like it's so cliche, but it's so real and it's so powerful because we are dealing with energy that actually opposes the sun. Anything that opposes one another, they're like each other, but just in different ways. Okay. Aquarius energy opposes Leo energy. This is why I say it opposes the sun. Leo is where you shine bright, and Aquarius is kind of where it surrenders the ego. Okay. So instead of being all for self, it's almost like the ego, like you are igniting yourself so that you can be one in others, so that it's not about me separate from everyone, but it's me separate from everyone to help everyone, right? So you're still connected to your role in the human race. You're still connected to your role, that is not ego. Because what ego really is I am separate. I am different. I am by myself. I'm individual. And Aquarius is we are one. So, what we're really learning here, Jupiter and Saturn, is how to be individually ignited to help others, to help be reconnected with others. Okay, so welcome everyone. Thank you so much, Five Angels, for the donation. I really appreciate it. Um, we're going to get into houses. And so if you're wondering, okay, your Gemini sun, Gemini Sagittarius rising. So you want to look at your chart, because we could do it from the zodiac signs, but I want you guys to be really accurate. And the only way to be really accurate is to look at your chart and see where 0 degrees Aquarius is. Okay, because not everybody's chart is in perfect alignment. So you might have a Sagittarius sun, but Aquarius is still a little bit like in your Sagittarius rising, but Aquarius is still a little bit in your second house, or it might be in your third house, which is what we would, generally say. But the best thing for you to do is to check your birth chart, because that is where you'll know exactly where 0 degrees of Aquarius is. I'm just looking up the ephemeris right now, because it's 0 degrees Aquarius for from um the 20th until around the 24th, that this conjunction is exact. Okay. We are currently, today is the 10th. So this conjunction is 2 degrees away, which means it's very strong. 2 degrees is still a strong conjunction. And it just gets stronger and stronger. So from now until the 21st and then through until the 24th to 25th, we are in a major portal of upgrades. Okay. So I'm going to talk to you guys also about what to do. What I would recommend to do for this upgrade that you're about to go through. Okay. So let's talk about the first house. So in the first house, if you have Jupiter and Saturn right now in conjunction in your first house, right, which would mean that you have 0 degrees Aquarius in your first house, they're electrifying you with Messiah seed energy, which gives you the potential to be a being of light, information, knowledge, scientific madness, okay, and alien likeness, right? Because this is, I'm sorry, I have to talk about this. Aquarius is where we are not alone. Aquarius is where you understand that you are not alone as a human being, but also in the world, like in the cosmos, in the universe, right? So there's this foreign energy, there's this exotic, outside, interdimensional, alien like energy that's also there for us to tap into if we want. This means that you will be for the people, but not like the people, right? Aquarius is where for the groups, you're for your social groups, but you're not like everyone else. You stand differently, you stand apart, you stand against the grain. Okay, so Jupiter and Saturn conjunct each other in Aquarius in the first house, right? This has a lot to do with your personality and your makeup and your look and like how you present yourself, right? So you can heal a lot of people. You can, well, let's say from this point of view, your Messiah seed energy is about electrifying the way that you present yourself, which means that you may have already been, but even more compelled to gain as much information as you can to put together an ensemble, a look, a brand that gets people to be completely compelled by you just based off of personality and looks alone, right? Your physical presence, how you enter a room. These are all things that are being electrified during this time. You may be a representative of a group of people with this energy being in your first house. You, as you walk into the room, you may appear to be the leader of a certain type of person. And these types of people, they want a fashionable symbol of who they are and what they represent. And this might be what you're trying to embody and incorporate for yourself, right? So this is an embodiment of how you look, but also how you present yourself, how you talk to people, how you introduce yourself. You may come up with a new fancy greeting, right? Or like a catchword or catchphrase that gets people to be excited about you being there, you being in the room, you being introduced to them, right? That first house is first impressions. And so where Jupiter and Saturn are in your first house, you are being a genius, a mad scientist at creating the most specialized first impression. Remember that Saturn is wanting so much success for you in the first house and will require for you to be very take your body very seriously, to take your presentation very seriously. So you might, really look at what you can do to make sure that people definitely see you, or they're engaged with you, or they're engaged with your group, they're engaged with what you represent. Okay. um First house. So we've got a 0 degrees Saturn in Aquarius first house, right? So if anyone has Saturn in Aquarius, you'll also be going through your Saturn return, which we'll definitely talk about in another video. Also, if you have Jupiter in Aquarius, which is a very specific year that you would be born, and then you're going through a Jupiter return as well, which we'll also discuss in another video. All right, so some people will say, "Oh, I don't have Aquarius in my chart." Well, you actually do because you have all of the signs in your birth chart. Okay, all of the signs are in your birth chart. You may not have a planet there, and or you may have an non-intercepted Aquarius, which means that it's not showing up. Like if you look at a list, it may not show up that Aquarius is in this house. But all you have to do is just go to your birth chart, look for the symbol of Aquarius, and look at the house number that it's in, and that is the house that Aquarius is in. So everybody has Aquarius somewhere in their birth chart. Okay. All right, so let's move into the second house. Now, the second house, Jupiter and Saturn are electrifying your money, in which this is like where you make money, also how you spend money. You may be more compelled with Jupiter to want to spend online, right? Because it's Aquarius energy. So, like, really spend money in a very frivolous way. But Saturn is going to really control that. It's going to bring in lessons if you are too overspent, right? Like I said, they both neutralize each other out. So if you've ever had issues with overspending, this transit will help you to tame that down, right? And gain rewards for abiding by the karmic lessons of Saturn, right? So learning how to be more disciplined with your money, learning how to save, learning how to invest, and also looking at how you make your money, like who is cutting your checks. This is actually messianic energy, big time. Messiah seed energy works in the second house as to electrify how people make money and change that up if it's not suitable for the existence and the future of the human race. And I do want to make a point here that this transit will square Uranus and Taurus, which has a very similar message. In fact, Uranus being ruler of Aquarius, right? And Taurus being the second house, it's almost like they're both having the same thing. And so globally, we're gonna have a it's gonna be like a big second house theme. I could really see within the next year even more shaken up and changes when it comes to how people make money, how people distribute their money, how money is given and distributed to employees, how the monetary systems are working out throughout different countries, even how we exchange money. That's already starting to happen with cryptocurrency. So globally, it's going to be a big time. Now, Jupiter and Saturn in your second house, personally, it has a lot to do with those things too, in which you may make money more digitally, right? Aquarius is the science, the scientific, the innovator, the energy that brings in futuristic industrial innovations, brand new ways of doing things. So this is where you too might be discovering brand new ways, alternative, very bizarre ways that you make money. You may come up with some genius idea that allows you to not have to do the same job or work for the same people anymore and make money in a different way. You may be a lot more digitalized with your money if you have Jupiter and Saturn here. And it's a big thing because you will be a representative of a Messiah seed if you choose to take it on, because you don't have to take on Messiah seed energy. But if you do, it's a big burden to bear because a lot of people will be looking and judging you for the bizarre ways that you are taking on this energy, because money is a very big thing, and we are going through a current Taurus transit in which you may be a major role player in the shifting of the monetary system. What do I mean by that? You may represent it, you may be passionate about it, you may be trying to tell other people, teach other people how to make money, how to invest digitally, how to work on their Cash App or receive money through Cash App. Maybe something as simple as that. You may be creating your own monetary, you know, currency. It could be something that extreme. But on a more minimal level, it's at least about learning how to control your money, learning how to control it and being protected by that. That's probably your most minimal thing, right? And you could falter if you or are overspending, and you could falter if you are working under a a boss or a job that doesn't pay you enough, because Jupiter and Saturn is not about that life. There comes a point where when Jupiter and Saturn come together in the second house, where it's like, you're not paying me enough, you're not paying me what I'm worth, and Jupiter is gonna nip that nip that quick. Okay. So moving into the third house, this is going to be big on publishing, big on creativity, talents, big on relationship to the community, representing the community. Because, like I said, it's also about groups, right? So the second house could also be groups of people, making money with groups of people. Well, the third house could be publishing with groups of people, working with a team to learn a new skill or a new talent, working with people in your community specifically to maybe build up a new space where people can learn new things, where people can reform different things about the community. You may be more active in the community. And if you're not more active in the community, then Saturn will provide for you lessons on why you should be more active in the community, right? Because these two energies, like I said, neutralize each other. It's not like Mars where you are compelled and passionate about it. It's like Saturn. Saturn energy compels action out of you by making you see the consequences of things. So you'll see the consequences of why participating or not participating in a community affair event would what the consequences would be of that. And you're going to be a mad genius to your community, right? You're going to be a mad scientist in your community, so you might be bizarre, you might stand out against everyone else in the community as far as your mental plane and how you see things and how you think, because the third house is a lot about how you think and how you communicate to others. So you might have a unique way in which you know verbalize your thoughts. You might have some interesting language lingo, slang words that are that represent you or represent the community. You might create new language, new words, new code words for your groups of people in the community. So these are some person possibilities, and tapping into this would allow you to tap into your messianic energy, your messiah seed energy, which allows you to harbor more information and be able to spread that information to the people that need it. Okay. Now let's look at the fourth house. Jupiter and Saturn coming together in the fourth house has a lot to do with how we live, what shelter we live in. Actually, the third house, I'm going to be doing this a lot, you guys. So you're probably going to want to just watch the whole thing. Okay. The third house actually also represents transit, right? So how you travel, like from your home to your job or whatever. So Saturn restricts that, in which, dealing with the current state of the world, a lot of people might be feeling this, but you specifically, if you have Jupiter and Saturn in your third house, may be deeply affected by how you travel to work. And you definitely might be the types that are traveling to work digitally, okay? Or having some unique ways in which you are traveling in your neighborhood. Now, the fourth house, Jupiter and Saturn, is about shelter. So the home becomes a place that is electrified. Okay, your home is your shelter. So your home is pulsing with the need for you to have success, and this might be in having the most big successful home, because Jupiter wants it big, Saturn wants it successful. But Aquarius wants you to not just think about yourself, right? Because, like I said, Aquarius is opposite the sun energy. So Aquarius wants you to use your home as a vehicle, as a space that you can hold for others, whether that's physically people coming, or your home is where you're activated, where you get your ideas, where you nurture, where you consider what things you want to plant into the world. Okay, so the home becomes electrified, the home becomes a space, a digital space for people to come into, um, for people to embody and indulge in. So your home may change, right? Your home may change in which you may physically change your home, right? But it also may just be going through an upgrade, as in uh you might add more gadgets in your home, right? You might have more computers, more electrical devices that connect one room to another, that connect you more to the outside world, right? People could be um, just really able to see your home more than before. So people are maybe just like this, watching you through, the internet, right? Or people are coming into the home and using your digital devices. So your home, or where you hold space for people, is electrified, and you become like home for so many people. The Messiah seed energy is when you become home for so many people. um, Specifically the people that you represent, the people that you stand for, the people that you serve. You become home for them. Naturally, you can hold space, whether it's an actual shelter or just an emotional shelter, right? Now, what's interesting is that all of this energy is very different than the fourth house. The fourth house is more water energy, and Jupiter and Saturn is mental energy, right? So this may be just harboring a lot of information for people um, that feeds them, that nurtures them, right? So there can be information that scares people, that brings them into fear, but this could be information that reminds people of who they are, connects people with their heritage, connects people with where they come from. You may be speaking from an alien like space, like a light being, or have information from alien like dimensions, right? Alien like meaning foreign or actual alien, if you're about that, right? So you hold a space in which people can feel comfortable to be around you, like home, right? Or you can connect with them because you guys are like, or alien like together, right? Maybe you come from the same star constellation, right? Maybe you both share the same home star constellation. Like maybe you both, meaning you and the group of people, you guys are from Orion. Maybe you guys are from the Sirius star constellation, right? So you may be connecting to your home beings, the people that you you guys are connected beyond the earth. You might connect with, meditative wise, mentally wise, right? Be gaining a lot of information from the ancestors, from similar ancestors. These are the groups of people that you're surrounding yourself with, people who have had ancestors who have gone through the same kinds of experiences in history, or things like that. So it's very deep in the fourth house, because the fourth house is an unassuming house. And I'm going to talk about that in another video too. The number 4 and the fourth house is a very unassuming house. It just seems like it's just your home, but it's actually so much more. It's where you come from, right? It's where you come from. And so this is being electrified, right? So get ready. If you have this energy in the fourth house, you'll be working with interdimensional beings from your original star homes, right? Your origins, your true light origins in the fourth house. Okay, so the fifth house, Jupiter and Saturn in the fifth house, is connected to your talents. Okay, and so this is definitely a place where we could find incredible inventions. And people who are going to ignite their Messiah seed energy in the fifth house, they may be more prone to wanting to create apps and businesses and just different innovative things that could really change the world, help people to connect with one another in a way that they never have before, help to solve problems for people, you know, in a very digital scientific way. So you become a mad genius scientist with your talents, right? If you're an entertainer and you sing and dance, or, you may be electrified at this time to do something very bizarre, very different, very digital, very innovative. If you're a business owner, you may come up with a product that really solves something for humanity, that helps people to live longer, that helps people to live a more quality life by the business or the product that you create. The fifth house is actually where you're like a self starter entrepreneur. So you could really build upon that. The fifth house is also where we find our fun and our enjoyments and our romance. So you may be connecting people to romance in a very digital way, right? So this is like a dating app, like finding more romance on dating apps or creating your own dating app. This could be also just maybe discovering love in a way that is different, enjoying entertainment in a way that is digitalized, right? So this is like similar, like being online and watching, you know, I mean, the online is the most that I can come up with. But imagine if you had virtual reality as like your entertainment, or you could connect to some sort of like alien like form with your own entertainment, become uh, the entertainment for bizarre people like yourself. This is a very weird place because the fifth house is really the sun energy, but with Aquarius here, it's not about you. So where a lot of people create, sometimes they're very like self, expressed and self-absorbed, and you still are in the fifth house because the sun energy is here. But because it's Aquarius, your talents and your expression is being pushed in a way in which it's for humanity. So you're not just a rock star that, you know, a self-destructive rock star. In Aquarius energy, fifth house, Aquarius, Jupiter and Saturn, you've got to be sobering, right? If you're a rock star, you're helping other rock people to sober out because Saturn is going to neutralize that need for entertainment and joy, right? So the expansion need to party hard like a rock star comes down a little bit here. And it's more like, well, how can the rock stars, be better for themselves and their families and be mentally secure, mentally healthful? How about we create a meditation circle for rock stars? That's just an example. Because Saturn and Jupiter would bring, if Jupiter was by itself, this could be like party hard, sex, drugs. Let's do it. Let's explore all of the different ways. But Saturn actually comes in and restricts that, making you a lot more disciplined with how you entertain, how you party, how you have fun, and making you more responsible for others when you're having fun. So if you're gonna have fun, then you might be the designated driver. You might be the one who has to deal with the consequences of cleaning up if the fun is over. So that could be it on a more mundane level. But if we're talking about Messiah seed energy, this is how can I entertain the world in a unique and strange way. Hello, welcome everyone. Okay, so Jupiter and Saturn conjunct in the sixth house. Well, this is going to be connected to your work space, and a big thing about this might be that Jupiter and Saturn electrifies your workspace, your co-workers, your calling, because the sixth house is like, yeah, it's your health, it's your schedule, so you might have, like a, you know working more with a personal assistant, or like an app that helps you to get organized, that those are little things that can happen here. Those are more mundane things that on a personalized level you probably already are into, right? But the biggest thing here is that who you work with is going to go through a major upgrade. So you may find that the people around you that you've been working with, they're like really into some new topics and new things, and their vibe is really, their frequencies are changing. And that is a big thing for that sixth house, because it allows for you to work and have to work with people, have to have a team of people, or work under a manager, or work, your work environment is not anymore um, just about the mundane. Every single thing that you do, even if it's flipping burgers, is about saving humanity, is about helping humanity. See, the Aquarius aspect of this is the key to understanding the upgrade, because the upgrade is not just about you. If it was Leo energy, it would be all about you. But the Jupiter and Saturn conjunction in Aquarius when we go through the houses, you're seeing that I'm really trying to pull for the Messiah energy, because that is how you are about everyone else. And it becomes about how everyone plays a role to help everyone else. It becomes about how can we create a space for the people who follow us? How do we break ceilings so that those who come after us can benefit from what we're doing? So even if it's as simple as flipping burgers, like I said, in the sixth house, then you guys might be, well, how are these burgers made? How are we making the right environment so that people can enjoy our products, enjoy our space, enjoy our work environment? You might be electrified by how people work, right? So there's like certain innovative companies that are creating new break rules. So there might be like more breaks, more resting, more naps for a 9 to 5 kind of job, right? So people might be more compelled to change the way that you work so that the future generations who come in are able to not suffer so much, not be over exhausted, right? Or only work hard when they're compelled to and have the ability to rest when they need to. These are other themes that I'm pulling up for you, but this is that idea. The idea is that the work environment is being electrified and changed and shifted so that people could work better and happier. And that upgrade requires a frequency change as well. You'd be surprised at how much this is about that electricity and the frequency change that needs to happen in these areas of your chart, because so many people are abiding by an old system, which Saturn, Pluto, and Jupiter have been working overtime in 2020 to change. Okay. And what we're seeing is the ending of this old system and the inviting of a new system. But a lot of this has to do with the people, has to do with how people are going to do what they came to do. And so, one thing I should have mentioned but didn't is that Aquarius can be where we have an extreme act of rebellion. And the only reason that I wouldn't mention it as much is because Saturn is here, which controls that rebellion, right? The rebellion is smarter, it's more mental, right? So, I'm in a lot of ways, I'm saying it. We're all rebelling where this conjunction is happening in our chart, but not in this crazy Martian way where we tear down the place and whatnot. We're rebelling in a way that is like playing chess. You're rebelling in a way that has a lot more weight under it, right? You can see the consequences with Saturn. So the rebellion is very intricate, it's very intelligent. And that might also be what it is that you're coming up with a way in which you can act intelligently, right? Because people can be scared from mad scientists. You know, people could be scared of these things. These are things that I'm learning myself. So the portal that we're in is, you might feel very lost right now. It may be very confused because it's like, well, how do I relay this message? How do I get this idea of what I'm trying to say that's very shocking, that's very crazy to people because it's electricity? How do I get them to understand it without running away from me? Right? Because Aquarius is alien like, it's exotic, it's foreign. Some people are going to look at you like you're an alien and stay far away or be very scared of it. And those are some of the other energies that we'll be experiencing. So if you are lucky enough to be here while I'm talking about it, go back and if you have house 1 through 6, go back and look at those houses again from the sense of, well, people might be scared of you, people might be shocked by you, people might see you as, rebelling for no reason. So those are the things that you're also working out, is how do I actually get this to work? That's Saturn pushing you to work it out. And Jupiter looking up information, educating yourself, going higher and higher in your knowledge, because the knowledge will back you up as you make those progressive moves forward wherever it is that you're finding Jupiter and Saturn in your chart. Yes, rebelling in a way that will evoke change. Exactly. Rebelling in a way that will evoke change and that people would be willing to do because it's so bizarre. For anyone who is talking about, I don't work a 9 to 5 job, next to a person who does work a 9 to 5 job. If you have Jupiter and Saturn in the sixth house and you're talking about changing that up or changing the way that you work, and you're probably going to be more of the type of person that's around people who are used to the old way, right? Because that's the whole idea, is that you're the Messiah seed. You're the one who is coming with this shocking idea. So you're going to be pulled in by this whole environment of people who don't even understand that until you do. And then you start to gain, it's almost like a campaign. You gain more momentum with people in which they're more compelled to want to make that change happen, want to see that change happen and participate in it. The moment that you gain participation, you are in your Aquarius energy, and you're 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 conquering that. The moment that people start to participate, you are conquering your Aquarius rebellion, because the change is happening in a way that it's constructive, that people can grasp, that they can wrap their head around, and they are willing to do so. So, where Aquarius is right now and where Jupiter and Saturn is in your chart is where you're a little bit ahead of the game. You're a little bit beyond, seeing things before everyone else sees them as well. Okay, so let's move on to the seventh house, because this is where things really get fun. Okay, so Saturn and Jupiter actually really pull in more committed relationships in the seventh house. And so if you've ever had struggles with that, and you might get the electrified conclusion of what it is that relationships need in order to last, in order to be fun, in order to be organic, in order to be enticing and stimulating. 'Cause Jupiter wants to stimulate, Saturn wants it to be long term. So in the seventh house in Aquarius, it's like, well, how can I stimulate? How can I make it long term? And how can I have freedom as well? Aquarius, right? And this might be you being the one that understands what you need to do in order to innovate a relationship and create a relationship for you that actually stands the test of time without being boring and mundane. And your relationship itself is an act of rebellion against concepts of breakups and divorce. Yeah, breakups and divorce. Why do I say that? Because Saturn prolongs things. And this is a Venus house, seventh house. Venus and Saturn work well together. Venus and Saturn want long-term relationships, but they want to trust them, they want commitment. And of course, relationships are created in your own way. So Jupiter and Saturn coming in the seventh house, you become a messiah, a messianic energy for other relationships, right? Whether you're single or in a relationship, you become a voice of the future for people who want to love but need to learn how to trust, or need to learn how to commit, or need to learn how to find that right one. It becomes more electrified by the seventh house is a business place. So also it's more electrified by the contractual agreements between people. You become a mediator for people, helping people to see where it is that they falter in relationships by dealing with your own self, whether you are single or in a relationship. So if you're single, you might be electrified by saying, well, these are the ways that single people can learn how to become one with another. The seventh house is us, we. So if you're single and you have this transit happening in your seventh house, this is big. This is big. You might create a relationship that tons of people want to be in or be like. People might want to mimic and emulate that. You may create a book or a device or service, or business that is about helping people to thrive in relationships. Okay. And the reason I say thrive is because it is a Venus house, and Venus does want to thrive, especially when Saturn is there. It's Jupiter that might make things a little crazy. And the more mundane level, Jupiter may want you to be more enticed to expand, right? But this could also be where you're like, I want to try a little bit of everything. But then Saturn neutralizes Jupiter, being like, I want you to focus on the right type of person, not just a little bit of everything, but the right type of person. I want you to focus on long term commitment. I want you to play the long game in your relationships, because this is not just about you, right? Aquarius. It's about the future. It's about who's going to follow after you. a lot there's this song, a lot of celebrities, they don't a lot of them don't want to take on the idea that people are watching them. They're like, look, I'm just a person, I'm just a human. But when we look at Aquarius, you become a leader and a symbol and a lifestyle that people want to follow. And I think that that's the responsibility that people look for from celebrities. But you have to understand that in a lot of ways, celebrities have worked in such a Leo energy that they don't want the Saturnian energy of Aquarius, which is on the same axis but opposite. So people who become in the spotlight right now during this transit, during this phase, are going to take more responsibility on who they're leading. Because if they don't, Saturn is coming for that ass. You know what I'm saying? And the seventh house is one of the houses, in my opinion, as an astrologer, of fame. The 10th house is the more popularly known one, but the seventh house is where you relate to people. So if you relate to a lot of people and a lot of groups of people, what is the responsibility that you take in that? That's going to be Jupiter and Saturn combined here in your seventh house. Okay. Um, yeah, Time Mims, she says this is a good advice for Sun and Aquarius. It's overall great advice for Sun and Aquarius because if you have the Sun in Aquarius, you're already hip to this energy. Now Jupiter is just going to expand everything that you know and have experienced in life. So Sun and Aquarius, you guys are going to be big time leaders in this energy for a lot of people who don't understand this energy. Aquarius energy is not easy to grasp for a lot of people and a lot of astrologers because it's kind of out there. It's just before the end. So we a lot of us don't even know the capacity to what this Jupiter and Saturn conjunction can bring while being in Aquarius for the next year. Okay. Looking at the eighth house, this is the area of sexuality. It's where we keep secrets from other people because we're more private about our sexual space, right? And so this could be where you are electrified to heal yourself, on a mental and physical plane sexually, but you also might be a messianic messiah seed for people to relate to sexuality in a way that is bizarre and kind of out there, right? So this could be someone who, is a representative for a certain sexual lifestyle. This may not be everybody, but some of you might be called for that because of it landing in your eighth house. Altogether, it's a big transit for sexual freedom, but you will not be able to be out there just sleeping with everybody. Again, because Saturn is here. Saturn is stronger than Jupiter, right? So there's going to be a lot of lessons about sexuality, about either you're being too restricted and Jupiter is helping you to expand and not be so rigid, or you're being way too out there and Saturn is helping you to control and practice self control. So it depends on what spectrum you're at. But when it comes to your relationship to humanity and the Messiah seed humanity, a lot of this has to do with helping people to heal through their own sexual expression, through their own freedom, right? Or self control. And this might be operating in a digital space in which that happens. Actually, I feel like OnlyFans is kind of like an eighth house Jupiter and Saturn transit, the platform OnlyFans, because it's controlled, right? It's not like at a strip club where you can reach out and grab somebody. It's digital, which makes it Aquarian, and it's Saturnian because a lot of people make great money on it. You can gain a lot of success through that platform. So you might be signing up for OnlyFans if you're going through this transit. It's one of the transits where that might be possible for you. You'll just feel so compelled to put yourself out there in a platform and in a way that is still kind of controlled or business like because it's about bringing sex and business together with Saturn being there. And that can also be a lot of lessons learned. As you can know, people take a lot of advantage of this. There's a lot of illegal business out there when it comes to sexuality, but that's one way in which it manifests, right? Because Saturn does want things to be achieved, success, right? But if you're not there yet, at least on the mundane level, it'll be about, well, how much self control are you exhibiting, so that people who are watching you are seeing how you're acting. People are watching you where Aquarius is. Because Aquarius rules over the 11th house, right? You're in the public eye with Capricorn, Aquarius, you're in the public eye. Sagittarius, Capricorn, Aquarius, you're typically in the public eye. So where Aquarius is, you're going to be more in the public eye. People are going to be watching you in the eighth house. And I mean, this is everywhere, but the eighth house and the 12th house are more secretive. So you're not as comfortable with the fact that people are going to be seeing they're going to be learning more, hearing more about how you operate on a sexual level. And so you're going to have to learn, well, how do I make something of it? That's Saturn. How do I make something of it? Right? And how do I make it for other people? How do I get people to benefit off of it? That's Aquarius. Moving into the ninth house, Jupiter will be the most comfortable here. So if you have Jupiter and Saturn moving through your ninth house in Aquarius, this Messiah seed energy will be comfortable because you'll be a natural teacher and you'll be electrified by your teachings, or your teachings may be electrified. These are people who definitely could make digital courses, could put all their education online or in some sort of virtual reality. It could also be where you're just a mad scientist at knowledge. So you just will come off as like kind of bizarre and unique because you've maybe studied so much or have so much information to give that it almost becomes a little too much. And Saturn will teach you the lessons on how to teach, how to be a mentor, how to advise people. A lot of the times this energy could be too knowledgeable, too much of a know-it-all, and it rubs people the wrong way in a lot of ways. So it'll be about how you can integrate and penetrate people with your ideas and your knowledge, but in a way that they can really grasp and they want to sign up for it. This is about big time being in front of groups of people, about traveling and to be in front of groups of people and being in foreign spaces. So you'll also be dealing with culture shock. You may be a culture shock to people, other people might be a culture shock to you. People from different cultures might be shocked by the knowledge you possess. They may have biases against you that you'll have to break through. This is a big ceiling breaker energy, the ninth house. Big ceiling breaking energy. Okay. And the capacity for you to reach and what your reach is based off of how much ceilings you're going to want to break. And you're going to be like an alien to people. You're going to be bizarre to people just by what knowledge you have to bring. In fact, the things that you are saying might rub people strangely. So, learning how to bring that knowledge is going to be key here. And it's something that you're going to work on. Because this is Saturn energy, we're gaining a relief, but then we're gaining a relief. Why? Because Saturn has just finished transiting some part of our chart, and where that is, we're gaining relief. But at the same time, where Saturn is going, we're now going to have to start ramping up and learning how to be more responsible here, how to be more effective, how to be more successful. So where Saturn is going, that's what we're looking at. How to be more successful, how to be more responsible, which leads me to the 10th house of career. And if you have Jupiter and Saturn moving through your 10th house right now, your career is a saving grace for so many people. People are waiting for you to be a being that they can follow just based off of the fact that you are a boss, just based off the fact that you're going for your career. Okay, because it is your career and what you're doing with your legacy that will help your familial generations and other people's family generations. This is about um being almost at the top. Okay, this is where we could find things like presidents. This is where we could find things like leaders of the community, leaders of large groups of people globally. This could be the voice for the earth. It could be so intense, right? So where Jupiter and Saturn is learning how to expand your reputation while at the same time being a strong business, serious, you know, emblem of that expansion. So it's not about being reckless. It's about being very serious. You know, being like I'm here to make major change. You're going to see so many people being compelled by Saturn's consequences to want to be more than just about me, me, me. It's going to be more about, well, what are you doing for others? What are you doing to help humanity? Because a lot of this energy has been looking for someone else to come save us, but Messiah seed energy and this activation that's happening with Jupiter and Saturn is helping you to be the superhero. And that's the idea, is that Messiah seeds are superheroes. They are willing to go beyond the ego. And a lot of careers can be based off of ego. A lot of careers could be based off of just what that one person wants. But the people who create legacies are the ones who leave behind something that a whole generation can benefit off of. And so we see that in the 10th house. In the 11th house, this is natural energy for Saturn and Aquarius energy. So this is about interacting in groups, in big groups and organizational groups, big groups because Jupiter's here. So this is not a small, minuscule thing. Jupiter wants you to be with big things wherever Jupiter is in, right? And Saturn wants you to take responsibility for those things, right? So you'll be electrified, you'll be the electrifier in big groups. I could see conventions and, just large groupings. And I know that sounds crazy because right now, the times we're living in, where is that going to happen? But because this is digital, a lot of this energy is happening on the internet. In fact, the entire scope of Jupiter Aquarius has a lot to do with what is your place on the internet, right? And basically, we could go through the houses and just be like, your money will be on the internet, second house. Your community will be on the internet, third house. Your home will be on the internet, fourth house. Your towns will be on the internet, fifth house. Your job will be in the internet, sixth house. It's really so simple. So the 11th house is just your groups of friends. You're going to be, this is the, these are the people who might have big followings, right? Even in the millions, as long as you are doing the work, the responsibility, the karmic work, the karmic duty that Saturn has you to bring. If you decide to abide by this Messiah seed energy, you have to be the one to decide to do it. Otherwise, this is just a bunch of lessons. You're just learning a bunch of lessons on how to relate to people and how to integrate into groups. But if you become the Messiah seed energy in the 11th house, this is about, how do I create my own massive group of people that we're all here on the same frequency, doing that work, doing that healing work, helping people to overcome, helping people to sign up for our group, campaigning for our message, creating a brand, creating a lifestyle for my group that is going to, be what people want to sign up for in these changing times. You can create that, that society that people want to be a part of. In fact, this could be major mystery schools. So a lot of you might, if it's 11th house, you might be creating your own mystery schools, creating your own collegiate types of learning, creating your own societies, creating your own occult societies, even if you wanted it to be. But definitely societies of wisdom. Occult might be here or there, but a lot of people will be creating schools of thought with the Jupiter and Saturn conjunction in their 11th house. Tai says she has an 11th house. So tell me, what school would you create? If you could create a school right now, what would it be? Or if you had a great following, what would they be following you for? That would be my question in the 11th house. Okay, the 12th house, the most mysterious placement for electrifying. And this is where it's really like anything can happen here. Because when electricity hits water, it's a conductor. So the 12th house is the deepest of the waters. It's your subconscious. When the electricity hits your subconscious, memories from past lives can be remembered and ignited. And in a lot of ways, you become a vehicle. Where certain people have created a vehicle in the third house, in the fourth house, in the fifth house, you may have created a vehicle in those houses. houses. Jupiter and Saturn are creating vehicles for people, right? Vehicles for people to feel at home in the fourth house, vehicles of people to be entertained by in the fifth house. But in the 12th house, you become the vehicle of change, in which and of knowledge and for people to access. So these are your psychics who can really tap into the electrical world, and maybe become a being that channels bizarre creatures, bizarre alien like dimensions, or travels worlds, astral travels to worlds unknown, discoveries of worlds unknown through the psychic realm, through the astral realm. Everything can awaken here. So memories can awaken here, the Akashic records can awaken here. And it's not like they're not already awakened, but in a way that is digitalized, in a way that is electrified, and in ways that is more accessible and easy for humans. So if you think about like the Apple computers, Apple computer is like perfect example of something that is Aquarian like, because it was created for people to easily access so that a ton of people could use it, right? And you're exclusive when you use Apple products because of that. So I don't have an iPhone. I have a Samsung iPhone, so but um the idea of that is very Aquarian. So when you look at it for like the 12th house, it's like, well, how can I make the spiritual realm or the astral realm or meditation or psychic um abilities and talents be more accessible to people? So this could be like teaching people how to be more psychic, how to just interact with the astral realm in their everyday lives instead of it being a specialty. Because if it was Leo, it would be, I'm a special psychic. But when it's Aquarius, it's how can everyone tap into these abilities? And so in the 12th house, it's really like electrifying everyone to tap into their own superhero potential, right? So when we look at Aquarius energy and what we're about to be activated, what you're going to have to understand is that you are so special, but so is everyone around you. And people who want to be on top, this is where Saturn is really going to struggle, because Saturn does want you to climb your own mountain and reach your own heights, and you can do that. But the part that a lot of us are going to struggle with, especially with Mars being in Aries, is the fact that we are not alone. That's the message here. In fact, that will be the message of this video. We are not alone. Aliens, okay? We're all aliens and we're all accessing aliens. We're all alien and exotic and foreign and like digital in our own way. And so the more that you recognize the alien in yourself and the potential and the exoticness of you, you're going to see it in the people around you as well. Because it's not just about you healing yourself, it's you healing yourself and how that affects everyone around you, and everyone else around you is activated. So going back to the idea of Thor, which works so well in the 12th house, being a psychic and having psychic abilities, if you aren't as tapped into your psychic abilities, this transit will help you to be so, and help you to do it in a way in which you have to work hard at it. You might be compelled to have to tap in every single day. You might have to take lessons, take classes on how to tap in every single day, how to meditate every single day, right? Because Saturn is going to compel you to work hard for it. It's not just going to fall in your lap, which Jupiter wants to bring it to you. But when they are working together, when they're in conjunction with one another, they neutralize each other out. Okay. You can be so shocked by what it is that comes up for you. You could be shocking to other people by how you channel. I've seen certain people already embody this, where they be almost seem to become something different. Where the first house is, I'm electrifying myself. The 12th house before the first house, I'm electrified by an entity, by something else, right? My vehicle, my body is a vehicle or a vessel for others. Now, this is only if you choose to abide by the Messiah energy. You don't, then you're mainly just um, connecting yourself to your deeper core beliefs. You're just dealing with, well, how do I interact and discover what I truly believe and what I truly have faith in? And is that hindering or is that helping me? Is it expanding me to a place where I am living by the law of attraction, or are my core beliefs hindering me from what I want in life? And if you're not going to be helping everyone else, that at least may be a part of the journey with Jupiter and Saturn being in your 12th house. Faith without works is dead, literally. Exactly. So yeah, Saturn in the 12th house ignites faith in a way that truly makes the spiritual realm become something physical. And we're dealing with air, right? We're dealing with air energy. And naturally, Aquarius is air, but classically ruled by Saturn. So Aquarius is about taking an idea, electrifying that idea, and bzzz, you zap it in your hand and it becomes something physical of use. Something that's why also the fixed nature of Aquarius is so important, because only by focus and practical application can you create something from an idea into physicality. So that's also the idea of Aquarius, and how that works through the houses is something to consider. So I hope that this has opened you guys up to how to interpret this transit through the houses. Everything that I've said here is not going to apply to everyone, but I hope that I've provided for you the tools in which you can go back to your chart and think about all of these things and how this might be playing out for you in your birth chart. So thank you guys so much for joining me on this live. I'm so happy to be back live. I know I haven't been doing it as much, but whenever I do, I really want to make sure that it's thorough and it's useful. And please let me know if this live has been useful. If it has, give me a thumbs up or share it with someone who you know understands astrology, but maybe needs a little bit more of a recap. Show your person who you're sharing it with how to find their house system if they don't know, and then let them click on the timestamp, which I'm going to work on for you guys. So thank you so much. I hope you guys have a blessed transit. Take a look out. I'm going to be dropping two videos this week. One is on, they're both on numerology. The first one is going to be on the number 4, and then the second one will be a greater numerology video about 2021, how to process your own personal cycle, how to understand your personal numbers in the year 2021. So those two videos will be coming out later this week. Thank you so much, you guys. Hope you have a lovely day. Peace and love. Bye.